Yo, what's going on today, guys? It's Rikar here, and today we're dropping into my top 10 NBA players of all time. This is a topic that is very controversial because basically nobody's lists line up, and there's no right or wrong reason. I do want to throw that out there beforehand. If you made it even onto this part of the list, you're an NBA great. You've done something over your time that you have absolutely changed the game. Like, no one's ever going to put Allen Iverson in their top 10, but like, for my generation, at least, he was the cool guy growing up. Like, everyone wanted to be like AI. So it wasn't be like Mike. It was like be like AI in my generation because he was so good. But let's jump right into it, guys. No wasting time. Shaquille O'Neal, number 10 for me. Shaq is one of those guys that I'm not even going to bring up his stats. I'm going to bring up some stats with some of these guys, but like, stats don't really show you exactly what he did. Like, he was dominant over time. He averaged like 25 points over his career and pretty close to 30 multiple years. But this guy just dominated. And especially when he was young, a lot of people forget how good of a shot blocker he was. He actually led the league multiple times in shot blocks. And then he was just a freak. He is what Zion Williamson is supposed to be. Like, obviously, you hope he doesn't get that big because Shaq got a little overweight at sometimes, because we all know throughout his life and his career, everyone thinks that he could have potentially been like a top 3-4 player in the league, but he was lazy. It just wasn't like, he's not a lazy person because obviously he does so many different things. He's a DJ these days. He's on TV. He does acting. It's just like in basketball sense, like he didn't put the right things in his body. You know, he was going out and getting a cheeseburger at McDonald's in his prime. Like, he just didn't treat his body correctly. But this man, no doubt, most arguably, compared to one other person on this, the most dominating basketball player of all time. Like, there was people on this list that I'm going to be giving you that could not guard Shaquille O'Neal, and they are like the best defenders at their positions ever. So Shaq just makes it because of pure domination on my list. Like, you cannot leave out Shaq. Like, you just purely can't, in my opinion, because he would throw that bow, launch the person like 8 feet to the ground, and then he would just slam and break the backboard. So Shaq comes in at number 10 for me, guys. Coming in at number 9, our newest addition to the top 10 list for a lot of people, Steph Curry. Steph Curry comes in at number 9 today, guys. I have his stats here for you just because we're going to have to look at a couple things here. He's always been listed as a point guard. In my opinion, even since he's came in the league, he has never been a point guard, in my opinion. He shoots too much to be a point guard. He's truly a shooting guard, but he's a point guard listed. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Luckily, over his career, he has had like a decent amount of assists because he's always played with really good teams. Like, if he played on like an average team, he'd probably be more like a 4.5 assist guy with how much he shoots. But always being surrounded by great talent, he's gotten assists. So yes, he's a point guard, but he's realistically like just changed the game over time. This guy has made everyone shoot 3-pointers. His generation, or not his generation, his dynasty, I would say, of this Warriors now with 4 titles, insane. You can't say enough about the guy. He's always been a class act. He is a little cocky, which I think everyone on this list is cocky, other than maybe 1 or 2 of them. But Steph Curry, greatest shooter of all time. Maybe not the most efficient shooter of all time, but that's just because he shoots so much. But look at these percentages. 47 from the field, 42 from 3, with making the most of all time, and 90% from free throw. That's ridiculous, guys. Like, for how much he shoots, he has set the bar so high that it's not even funny. 42% from 3, and the dude launches how many freaking 11 a game this year? 12. This was his worst year shooting for a while, but like, he's consistently always been launching like at least 5 threes basically since the beginning of his career. So absolutely ridiculous. Comes in at number 9 for me. Congratulations, Steph and the Warriors on another championship. Coming in at number 8 for me, guys. I have to pull up my list. Let's see who we got. Kobe Bryant. Black Mamba. I don't really think there's much you really have to say about this guy. He really changed the game in his own sense of like, he is basically just Michael Jordan, but wasn't on as dominating of teams. And he didn't have those crazy years because they changed the rules. If you guys didn't know, like, there were some rule changes from when Michael Jordan was dominating because he was so dominant that defenses were allowed to do a few extra things with Kobe that they couldn't do with Michael Jordan. And we're not going to dive into that discussion today, but man, Kobe Bryant, he shot the 3 okay, amazing too. just had freaking spring-loaded shoes. The dunks he was doing when he was young, absolutely ridiculous. One of the nicest guys ever in the NBA, but the fiercest mentality, like that Black Mamba mentality that so many players these days, like people are comparing people like Devin Booker, Jason Tatum, all these guys always to Kobe, because Kobe was that guy of our generation. If you did not go Kobe from just launching a freaking piece of paper into a trash can at some point in your life, I don't know what else to say. Like, I really want to put him higher on this list, but to me personally, I feel like he was just really inefficient at some points in his career, that he was just launching up balls to launch up balls. And yes, he is one of the all-time greats, but this list is the top 10. Like, yes, Kobe is arguably, like, you could argue, like, if you're going in a one-on-one, 1v1, like, rest in peace, Kobe, but this guy in his prime, I would want Kobe on this list, like, one-on-one against anyone. Like, it would be so hard to beat him in a one-on-one, because he's, like, one of the best defenders of all time, too. So, one of the best. Coming in at number 8, Kobe Bryant. And let's go number 7 here, guys. Larry Bird. Larry. Oh, I tried to drag it from the other screen. That's my bad. Where are you, Larry? Are you hiding? There he is. Larry Bird. Coming in at number 7 for me. This was a time period where shooters weren't really a thing yet. Like, he pretty much established the three-point line back in the early 80s to early 90s. So, I mean, he played from 79 to 91. And the only thing you can really say about him compared to, like, the reason he doesn't make it higher up on this list is because him and a couple other guys, like, you just didn't play for very long. Yes, he went all his years in college. That's why he was 23 when he came out. And he only played to his 35, which, good for him. There's too many people out there that have just extended their careers forever and ever just to prove more. But, like, look at this. He played 13 years, 12-time All-Star, 3-time NBA champ, 10-time All-NBA, like, all-defensive team, 2 Finals MVPs, 3 MVPs. What else can you say about the guy? He's one of the, like, he legitimately established three-point shooting back in the day. No one was shooting threes, and, like, you can even see, like, even in these heyday years, like, the most 3 points he was shooting was like 1 to 2 to 3. No one was shooting him back then, but look at his percentages. He was shooting 40% some of these years, man. That's ridiculous from 3 for that time period, because no one was doing it. Everyone was just driving in the rim. He's playing against Kareem. You're just throwing it to him and let him do a little sky hook. I mean, the game has changed so much, but, like, when you look at Larry, if you put him in today's game, he would have survived. My favorite story of Larry is when he decided he was just going to play left-handed that game. He played one game left-handed and it dropped like 30. Like, that is just using your wrong hand and dropping 30 points is just different, man. Career stats, he got 24, 10, and 6. All around, just great basketball player, and that's why he comes out at number 7 today. A little short career. He probably could have made it up a little higher in the list if he played a little bit longer. Coming in next, this one's going to be controversial for some people, but I have Magic Johnson at 6. And it's kind of the same thing as Larry Bird in that sense. And that is because Magic Johnson only played for, how many years did he play? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years. But he barely played this last one. So basically 12 years. And that's because he got HIV at literally when your prime is supposed to happen. From 32 to 35, that's like supposed to be like your heyday years, especially nowadays. Obviously, this was a little bit like in the same era as Larry Bird, where he probably could have retired if he wanted to a little earlier. But obviously, HIV, him getting that was one of the most shocking things that anyone's ever seen, because this guy was the biggest name in basketball until Michael Jordan took over. Basically, this next year when he was it 92 when he won his first one, or he just went on that 91. I forget. That might have been the first year that Michael Jordan actually won it all. But you just can't go wrong, man. This is the definition of the greatest point guard of all time. It's just Magic Johnson. 19 and a half, 7 and 11. The 11 with 19 and a half is ridiculous. You know how hard it is to get 11 assists over a career and still average basically 20 points? It's different, man. The guy obviously changed the game as well, being 6'9". Just the only thing that you can really put on his game that you can say like he could have been better at is he wasn't a great shooter. But you're 6'9" in a time where 6'9" you were a power forward. Even today at 6'9", there's like Ben Simmons is like the only guy, like that's why he gets compared to Magic Johnson so much, is because you just, no one's 6'9" at point guard. So the league would never be the same after Magic Johnson. Obviously the big personality, the smile, it's just him. One of the greatest of all time. I'm not going to go any deeper. I don't think you have to explain Magic Johnson to many people. Next, we have my man, Timmy Duncan. When I say my man, I mean my heart crusher. The amount of years that he crushed Phoenix Suns, Steve Nash days, him and Kobe together just ruined my childhood, basically. But this is a little higher than most people have Tim Duncan on the list. But the reason I put Tim Duncan this high on the list, I don't even think I need to show you guys stats. I'll bring it up just for the accolades. But this guy is one of the greatest defenders of all time. He is the best power forward of all time, by far. And people want to argue with like Kevin Garnett. And I'm like, are you freaking kidding me, dude? Even in his last run, when they won the championship with Kawhi was only better in the last series. At 39 years old, he was only better. Or was it the 38? I forget. I think it was his 39-year-old season when they actually won it. He didn't play a ton, but he played a lot of minutes in the playoffs. And he pretty much dominated games, even at that age, which is just ridiculous to even think about. But going back to just like when you're talking about, if you're having like a bar talk with, you're at a sports bar, you're talking to someone, you're having this conversation going, hey, Tim Duncan, greatest power forward of all time. Why? He is the first power forward to learn how to truly hit a jump shot. As a Suns fan, anytime I saw like, because no one guarded this before, like they would throw a ball out to Tim Duncan at like the free throw line, and you're just like top of the key area, he's gonna make it every time. And it felt like he made it every single time. He was so good, so clutch. That game-winning 3 against the Suns, it still haunts me to this day. And then we're not even talking about arguably the best part of his game, which is his defense. 5-time NBA champ, 15-time All-Star, 15-time All-NBA, 15-time All-Defensive Team, Rookie of the Year, All-Rookie Team, 3-time Final MVP. I mean, 2-time MVP. It doesn't get much better than that. More dominating than that. 15 All-Defensive Teams. He played 18 years. That's just ridiculous, man. You know, that's why he comes in so high on my list. And I think no one can say a bad thing about Tim Duncan. He was quiet. And really the only time he had a hard time guarding anyone, which I wanted to bring up, was Shaq. Because no one could guard him. Like, just physically, no one could guard Shaq. Look at it, he's listed at 250. Shaq was listed, what, 325? That's what, 70 pounds more almost. So, gotta love it. Tim Duncan coming in very high on my list compared to some people. But I personally think that he is one of the, he changed the game. All of these guys did, but like, look at now. Bigs have to be able to shoot. Like, they just have to. And it's because of Tim Duncan. Coming in next for me, Wilt Chamberlain at number 4. And the reason why Wilt's coming in at number 4 for me is because obviously he came in at a time where I do think JJ Redick made a good point on TV a couple months ago now, where he was basically playing against plumbers. But how can you, even if you're playing against plumbers, no one else was doing this stuff, man. Obviously, he was a 7'1" when no one else was 7'1", but like, bruh, he averaged 50 and 25, 38 and 27. Like, this is obviously the timing and everything worked out perfect for him, but like, anyone that wants to argue with me that he was a stat padder or he could not play in today's game, how? Explain to me how. You're telling me from a guy that was, what, 7'1" back in the 60s? You're telling me he had probably zero diet information, zero training information. He probably just went out and played basketball every day. You're telling me you can, in this day and age, if you grew up in this time where there's so much information out there, people training you from the age of like freaking 6 to now, you're telling me Wilt Chamberlain's still not going to be a dominant player? I'm calling Stinky out, my boy Stinky. He told me that he would be Rudy Gobert of this age. And I just don't see it, man. I don't think Rudy Gobert could have scored 50 at any time. A game? Are you kidding me? Like, there's just no shot. I don't care who you're playing against. And obviously, he fell off later in his career, but that's just purely on like what I was talking about. These guys just ate whatever they wanted. They're going home and eating their Midwest cooking that their moms were probably making them, and then whatever they could find, because there was just not information out yet. Like, there's no internet back then. But half the time, people didn't even have phones. You had to go over to places back then. So, Wilt Chamberlain, this one is one of the most debated ones where he goes on the list, because some people have him as high as 2. Some people have as low as like 9 or 8, because people just think he's a stat patter. And it's just, he played in the right time period for him. But in this day and age, I still think he would find a very successful time. Coming in at number 3 for me today, I think pretty much this is number 3 on everyone's list. But let's see. Where is his face? Right here. Kareem. Another guy that just, I mean, he basically took, at the end of Wilt Chamberlain's career, he kind of hopped in and said, hey, I'm the guy. He was the face of the Lakers before Magic showed up, and then they kind of just became this dynamic duo that it was kind of towards the end of Kareem's career, and Magic just revived him, being the reason he had 11 assists a game is because he was throwing the ball to this guy. And we all know what Kareem's done. He's one of he still have the most points ever, or did LeBron pass him in that because of the playoff points? And it just, actually no, Michael Jordan has the most points. I'm stupid. But Kareem, the skyhook, man. The skyhook. He was in Bruce Lee movies. He was the original superstar while being this Muslim guy that really was very religious, calm, down to earth, and just different, man. It was a time period where bigs were starting to get a little bit more competitive. So he truly had to make a skill for himself to become dominant. And that was that skyhook. That thing was unguardable. And you can see it in his stat lines. Like 19-time All-Star, scoring champ twice, 6-time NBA champion, which he won 2 of them, I believe, before he went to the Lakers. And then he won 4 with Magic. 15-time All-NBA, 11-time All-Defensive. I think what some people talk about him is he had this really good longevity, which for a big man, that's ridiculous longevity. He played, 20 years almost? Yeah, 20 seasons. So, man, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar coming in at number 3 for me. It's just, I love the look at the end of the career, too. Balding goggles, baby. You can tell he played till he was 41. Man, God, love it. Coming in at number 2. Number 2 and number 1 is arguably the most annoying argument in the history of the NBA. And I don't want to get into like a GOAT conversation here, even though my list is going to make it that. But I might just throw them both up there right now, because we obviously know it's LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Where is he? They can get interchanged for me personally. There is so many good points that people bring up for both sides of this argument. And my thought process on both of these guys is, obviously Jordan to me had the mentality that no one's ever going to beat me, and I'm going to be an asshole. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get to that point. Other than like, he was known for gambling and smoking cigars and drinking before NBA Finals games, and people were getting mad at Draymond Green for having a podcast. But he just had that mentality that no matter what I do off the court, no one's going to beat me. I'm going to work my butt off to get in the best shape possible, even though I'm doing this stuff that is not good for me. And he just did it. And then LeBron James is over his career. I think everyone has talked about him being probably birthed into the greatest talent of all time. And nowadays you see it, like, people kind of forget about his early age, but just go back and watch young LeBron. Like, when he first came in the league, it is a huge disappointment, and one of my biggest disappointments ever, that we never got to see him in a slam dunk contest. And I will be the first one to tell you, I was a big LeBron hater for a long time, because I had a lot of friends that were just hanging off of his nuts. Like, there's no other way to say it. And there is a lot of people out there that do that with LeBron James. But Michael Jordan and LeBron James, you can't compare them, because they play 2 different positions when you're talking GOAT status. Obviously, all these guys play different positions, but like, Michael Jordan is a shooting guard. LeBron James, it's just interesting to talk about it here. Small forward, power forward, or point guard, shooting guard. Like, the dude has literally done it all. And even you could put center on there, because he ran the 5 this year for the Lakers for most of the year. So it's just, he's just built into like the most talented body you could ever be put in. And there's no argument to it. Like, if you're going to build a basketball player, you want him to be about 6'9" and weigh about 250 pounds like LeBron James and be jacked and jump through this freaking ceiling. But obviously, he has not had the greatest success in the finals, which is that what people hang on, which you have to give credit to LeBron for going through, like, and making it, like, you see how hard it is. Like, the Suns this year absolutely choked. LeBron James pretty much was in the finals for like 10 straight years. It was like 8 years or something like that, with bad teams for like the first 4 years, which is shows you that the East was pretty weak at one point, and the game has changed for like crazy. Like, bench players now were starters then easily, and like maybe even better than some of the starters, because just the talent level of the league has changed throughout his career. But you see, he has evolved with the league. Like, he is still average. Like, he basically won the scoring title this year at age 37, which is ridiculous. And then Michael Jordan, let's talk about some good points with him. Obviously, the domination in the finals. He was the all-time scorer. No one could guard him because the NBA rules at that point. People want to talk about physicality. He loved getting physical, and you could see it in those early ages with the Pistons. He had to earn his stripes. Like, he got pretty much crapped on like the first 8 years in his league, and he was obviously scoring, but their teams weren't very good. So he was trying to carry teams, but then he had run into those dominating teams like the Pistons with Isaiah Thomas, and it was just not great for Michael Jordan for the first 8 years. And then if he didn't have that streak where he won all these finals, I think LeBron easily would be the GOAT. But you go 6-0 in the finals, and did he get 6 finals MVPs? Because that's just, you can't argue it. You just cannot argue that that is the most dominating stretch of basketball that anyone has ever seen. And both these guys play both sides of the ball, but Michael Jordan is a better defender than LeBron James. LeBron James is a great defender, but he's more of a flashy defender. It's just when he wants to play defense, because he plays so many minutes throughout his career. He never really, like, in Michael Jordan's time, people got a little more extra rest. People kind of like, they built their benches a little bit. It was a physical game, so you didn't play every single minute. LeBron James over his career has pretty much played like 35 plus minutes a game. So, different conversation for another day. I'm not going to dive straight into it, but I'm going to pretty much just put these both as like the GOATs. Like, these are the two GOATs. Argue it all you want. I'm sure someone's going to get salty in the comments about me not picking one for my top 2, but that is my top 10, guys. I hope you guys did enjoy today's video. If you guys did, reminder, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.